gamers, GamingWithMelkor here, bringing you another Clash Royale video. Now guys, this is the second time I've recorded this video due to a malfunction with my microphone, so fingers crossed this one will be slightly better. So guys, this is a Clash Royale video, and it's going to be another deck spotlight. That's right guys, another deck spotlight. Now before going further guys, can you all do me a couple of big favours? One, hit that like button, see if we can get to 50 likes on this video, and while you're at it, do me a big favour as well, and if you've not already done so, hit that subscribe button and see if we can increase that number even more. So guys, before we go any further, at the end of this video there will be some tips and tricks on how best to utilise this deck. So let's have a look at it. That's right guys, it's another balloon giant combo deck. But this time, to go with the giant and the balloon, we have the arrows, the bomb tower, the lovely Valkyrie, the spear goblins, the musketeer and the fireball. Now before I was this deck, I was actually using the goblins instead of the Valkyrie, which was working relatively well, but I felt that the Valkyrie was much better on defense. Now it did take my average elixir cost from 3.8 to 4, but overall we benefited quite significantly from it. And as you can see, we have won our last 3 decks considerably well. Before that, we did have one defeat using the old deck, but obviously there was a large number of victories in there for that one defeat. So overall this deck is 7-4-1. Even though obviously we have had the slight adjustment with the Valkyrie instead of the Goblins. So guys, we're going to have a couple of matches here which I'm going to show you. Firstly is a 2-1 victory, which was a clutch victory against a level 9 opponent who did have as high level cards as myself and a rather interesting deck, which did include the Goblin Barrel. So as you can see, our opponent goes first, throwing his Goblin Barrel and his Spear Goblins down. This does some significant damage to my tower. My Spear Goblins do some damage to them, but unfortunately they are taken out. So as our opponent does use that zap, I know he is low on elixir. So I drop my Valkyrie in the back, at which point our opponent decides, I know what I'm going to do, I'm going to fireball it. No he doesn't, I'm thinking of a different one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop my musketeer behind, and then our opponent's going to fireball both, taking out our musketeer to the very slither of HP. Now we just dropped down that minion horde. Unfortunately, I do manage to get my arrows off just a bit late, so we're not going to get any damage off on this tower, but we are ahead on the elixir race. So at this point, as we're ahead, I decided to start my main push with my giant and balloon combo, but this time I decided to go down the opposite side. Bit slow on the balloon there, but oh well. I dropped down my Spear Goblins just to support and to take out our opponent's Spear Goblins, but unfortunately our opponent does zap them. That doesn't mean that we are still going to get to our tower with our giant for 1 hit, and then the balloon to get off a couple of hits as well, taking that tower down to just over 500 HP. Our opponent does drop his hog right down the far side, but we drop our Valkyrie down to counter that. Now, at this point, we do have the Valkyrie pushing. I'm not going to do too much with her at this moment in time. I'm going to drop down the Musketeer once out of fireball range. Unfortunately, our opponent does drop down the horde, and I'm a bit slow letting those arrows fly. So, our Musketeer is going to do a bit of damage to that tower, but not before that Goblin Barrel does significant damage to our tower. And we're going to go, unfortunately, 1 tower to 0 down at this point, purely because of that. No, we're not. I'm lying. We're going down to 84 HP, but we are in a losing position because of it. And we're not ahead in elixir, so it's not looking good at this moment in time. Just let our picks build up, and then we're going to start our second giant balloon push on this right hand side. But our opponent decides to drop down his barbarians. Now I'm not too worried about that because the giant is going to go, and as soon as this balloon takes that out, they're going to push that out. Unfortunately, he's going to drop his minion horde just in time to take out that balloon before it can take out their tower. We utilise our arrows here to take down that minion horde before it can do any further damage, and unfortunately our opponent still does have the elixir advantage. So again, he drops down that combo of the Goblin Barrow and the Spear Goblins. I dropped down my giant as a distraction, just not in time. Drop my musketeer back to help on defense as well. Unfortunately our opponent does fireball that, missing the Spear Goblins. Now we do lose our tower, but I'm not too worried here. I'm going to let that Hog Rider do its work because it can't really do much. Now our opponent does drop down those barbarians, but not before our giant takes it out. On the opposite side, I went for a Valkyrie balloon push, using the Valkyrie as a distraction. Now our opponent does drop down that minion horde again, so that's balloon isn't going to get to the tower, but that giant is going to go in and get a couple of hits. I've taken that tower down to 620. Our opponent again goes with a Goblin Barrel Spear Goblin attack, which does some significant damage to us. I'm not worried about those barbarians at this moment in point. I then decide to drop the Valkyrie balloon combo to go for the tower up top. Unfortunately, that wasn't probably the best play as our opponent drops the hog right down. I just wait for my elixir to build up before sending the fireball straight to the tower with seconds to spare just before our opponent As Hog Rider takes us out, we manage a solid 2-1 victory in overtime against a well-played opponent. As you can see, guys, I'm still getting used to this deck, so I'm still making more than a few mistakes myself. But nonetheless, a victory is a victory. And I'm going to have a look at this next replay, which does involve the Miner. Now, our opponent doesn't really get a chance to utilise it that much because he's always on defence quite a bit in this match. But we'll see how he gets on. So as you can see, we're just waiting for our elixir to build up before we start our push. Again, as we've got the Valkyrie no balloon, we're going to drop the Valkyrie in the back and wait to see what our opponent does. Now, our opponent decides to go on the opposite side with his Giant. Well, that's a good move for me because he's now used his Fireball, so he's low on elixir. And purely because of that, I'm going to start my first attack down the opposite side, dropping the Giant, followed by the balloon straight away, going for that tower. Now, our opponent does drop down the Wizard, targeting that Giant, but not before we are able to take out that tower. So we drop down the Musketeer to help take out that Giant, and then we're going to drop the Spear Goblins to take out that Bomber, and then to assist taking out the Giant. Now, we have managed to do some significant damage to our opponent's Crown Tower, getting it down to just over 1800 HP, and this Musketeer is going to do a bit of damage to that second tower as well, putting us in a strong position. Our opponent does drop down those Barbarians, so I'm going to drop my Bomb Tower to help take those out, and lure in that Hog Rider at the same time. Now, because of that, we're going to drop our Valkyrie, which is going to move towards that Hog Rider, pulling our Valkyrie to the other side, which is a good move for us, really. That Valkyrie, I'm just going to let it die because we do not have enough elixir to support it at this moment in time. Our opponent wastes a Fireball on that Valkyrie as well, something I wouldn't have done, but everyone plays how they want to play. So at this point, we're in a strong position. We do have an elixir advantage, so I decided to go with my Royal Giant and Loon combo again, especially as our opponent has dropped his Loon as well. Again, our opponent does drop that Minion Horde though, unfortunately, doing significant damage to that Loon and taking it out before it gets to the tower. We do use the arrows to take those out, and the Giant does do some significant damage to that Crown Tower, getting down to 731 HP. Now we drop down the Musketeer again to support. No, we decided to drop down the Bomb Tower, sorry, to support that tower, while our opponent drops down his Miner. So we drop down our Valkyrie to take that out. I know this tower is going to go down, so I'm just going to ignore that Giant and continue my push up this side. So as you can see, our opponent has dropped the Wizard in the back, so I have dropped my Giant, followed by the Musketeer this time. I am now going to Fireball that tower and that Wizard and allow the Giant to get through just to get a couple of hits for a 3 crown to 1 victory. Obviously, guys, as I was saying, this is against a level 9, but we're going to realise is they do have virtually the same level cards as myself. The only advantage I have most of the occasions is just literally a little bit of extra HP on those towers. So guys, the third and final battle I'm going to show you is a 2-1 victory. Now this opponent, like I said, is level 9, but he does have card levels which are far higher than mine in many situations, including that Musketeer, who is of course level 8 and packs a powerful punch. So we don't have any Giants or Valkyrie or to start the trap, so we're just going to drop our Musketeer off when our opponent drops off his Giant. As that Giant starts to work towards the middle of the field, I'm going to drop my Valkyrie down as well to help take that out. Unfortunately, our opponent does drop down his level 8 Musketeer. I use my Fireball, which takes out a large number of that Minion Horde and does some significant damage to that Musketeer. Due to that, we're able to stop any of those troops getting to our tower, leaving us levels for devils after the first minute. So because this is time to start our push, see what our opponent has. So we drop down the Giant and the balloon. Our opponent drops down the Valkyrie, and then drops down his skeleton army. So we use our arrows to take those skeleton army down. The Giant and the balloon working together to do significant damage to that tower and taking it out in one push. Now, our opponent does drop down his Valkyrie to support his Giant, so I drop my Valkyrie behind to distract their Valkyrie, and then drop down the Spear Goblins to assist taking out that Valkyrie as well. And then both the Valkyrie and those Spear Goblins can assist the tower in taking out that Giant before he does any more damage. At this point, I drop down my own Musketeer. Poor placement here, and this costs me this tower, I'm afraid. That Ice Wizard and that Musketeer do great work taking out my tower very, very quickly. Poor play by me there, I'm afraid. Also, that puts us in a losing elixir as well. So at this point, we're just letting the elixir build back up before we start our push. So our opponent does drop down his minion horde and a Valkyrie. Now my intention here is to firebomb the horde as well as the Valkyrie, but unfortunately I dropped down the bomb tower and then decide to arrow to tear it down. Our opponent does fireball our tower, crown tower and bomb tower all at once. So I drop down my giant and the balloon at the same time our opponent drops down his giant. He does again drop down that skeleton army, but that giant and that balloon are going to do significant damage to that tower. I'm going to utilise the fireball to take out these minions, but unfortunately I missed because they go down too quick. Putting their tower down to 363, but their opponent is having a big push right now with that musketeer and giant. So I drop down the bomb tower as a distraction with the musketeer on pure defense. Drop down my Valkyrie to take out that musketeer, and then we can start our own push down this side. So the Valkyrie and the spear goblins are going to take out that ice wizard. But I know I only need a few hits on this tower, so I drop down the giants. I utilise the fireball as well, just as the giant gets there to take it out, for a solid 2-1 victory against a rather tricky opponent. So guys, that's the deck. This is a solid deck, and obviously as many of you know, I have done a few balloon giant decks on here before, but this is as good as any of those decks that I have done in the past. So guys, that's the deck, consisting of the giant, the balloon, the arrows, the spear goblins, the bomb tower, the musketeer, the Valkyrie, and the fireball. Like I say guys, wait and see what your opponent's doing, and when they're low on elixir, get that giant down on the field and get that balloon behind it. If he's going to drop minions or a minion horde or something like that, you have the arrows which will be there in 3 elixir. You have the spear goblins as well as backup, and you have that musketeer as well. Where possible, try and assist the giant with the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie can turn a defense onto an offense, and if you get that musketeer behind, he can support absolutely everything, and she can deal some fantastic damage. Utilise those arrows to take out those air troops, and utilise that fireball to take out large groups of troops, such as barbarians, etc., and things like that. Simply fantastic, and also can take out elixir collectors as well, but like I said, don't waste it purely on just collectors. Turn defenses into offenses, and this deck will absolutely destroy any opponents. And as my battery's running low guys, that's it from me. If you like what you see, comment below, let me know. If you've not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you gamers next time.